Hey there people of the internet, my name is Sivana and welcome to my studio. In this week's video, I'm doing something very different. I'm drawing a map. I love maps and I've drawn several fantasy maps in the past, but this one is not my own creation. You may remember my D&D short where I drew my dragonborn fighter, Fee. Well, this is the map our dungeon master, Ron, drew up and I decided to digitalize it. So yeah, now let's just get into the drawing. Basically, all I did to start this was redline over what Ron had already drawn, but make the edges a bit more jagged. I wanted to keep it as close to the original as possible, so the only changes I made were to how the mountains look and, of course, adding the color eventually. I pasted in some mountains and trees that I had already drawn in a previous map that I did before I learned how to record in Photoshop, and I just moved them and mashed them up all over for some variety of terrain. We haven't gone to many places on the map yet, so I, as Fee, only know of a couple of the places, like the far east country of Tharn and the foresty area on the eastern side of the mountains, which is the Druid realm. So for the rest of this, I'm just going to give a recap of all of our sessions so far. Fee was found by the King of Tharn when she was very young, and raised in the city alongside the soldiers who trained her to fight. She was a master with heavy weapons, and the greatsword was her weapon of choice. She grew quick and she grew strong. But after a dreadful discovery of what was really going on in the kingdom, she lashed out and killed King Tharn. Oh yeah, the king's name is Tharn, in the kingdom of Tharn, in the land of Tharn.
He's been telling everyone that Frieza plans to destroy
Tharn.
Wait, my son, the planet or me?
Yes.
She then ran away, but was captured, and that's where our campaign began. Fee was locked in a cart on her way to a prison with a couple others in chains. Isaiah, the young human sword mage, and Varys, the old Furbog warlock. After a strange attack on their convoy, the three escaped and made their way into the forest of Pratiamala, and eventually the realm of the Druids. The Druids of the Great Tree seem to have their hands full with refugees escaping from some sort of mysterious war, but no one could really seem to remember much more than that. The three brave adventurers then went on a brief excursion into the forest, hoping to find some food for the refugees, and made friends with the Great Guardian Naga before being ambushed by some of Tharn's soldiers who were out to get Fee. They fought hard and were luckily able to beat the high-level captain and take his dope lightning greatsword, which Fee now uses. Unfortunately though, they did kill the Guardian Naga. The group spent a few hours burying their massive friend before going back to the Druids, only to find out that a plague has broken out now. No one seems to know the source of the plague, and one of the Great Elder Druids also seemed to have contracted the disease. There were also two individuals from the refugee camp who seemed to be magical and have more knowledge than everyone else. These were people of interest, and by the time the plague broke out, they were gone. So we chased them. We went to a kobold village to find one of them, Lady Mizam, who we found out was conversing with a weird wall of flesh in a other dimension. We beat her and gave her to the Druids, and are now setting out to find the other one, Jack, who is apparently in the Badlands. So that's where we're going. Can you tell that at first I was reading off a script and then I just started going off of memory and was just speaking into the microphone? Probably. It gets weird when I don't read off of a script because I just kind of babble and don't have a plan of what I'm going to say. But yeah, those are our sessions so far. We are now headed out into the Badlands looking for Jack. And apparently he might be going to Tharn, which Fee is not super excited about because she's not wanted there. Well, I guess she is wanted, but she's wanted for murder. So that'll be interesting. Now I'm just going to talk about the coloring process. So this green bit at the bottom with the waves is the Jade Sea, which Ron told me used to be part of the ocean, but is now frozen in jade, with rivers still flowing through it, and the frozen waves are the Jade Mountains. And I think that's just such a cool concept, and I wanted to do my best to make it look like the gemstone. Also, jade is my favorite gem, so that was pretty neat. Then I started coloring the rest of the water, but I realized I was doing it on the wrong layer, so I had to undo a bunch and then redo it. I do all the coloring with the watercolor brushes because I just really love how they make everything look textured, and they flow and blend so well together. At the very top, to the far north, is a massive glacier, which reminds me of the wall from Game of Thrones, but I have no idea what's on the other side of it. I played around with some effects to make it look like ice and not just more water. Next, I block in and color all of the big forested areas, and did slightly different shades of green depending on the biome. So the forest with the great tree of Protea mala is like general leafy, lush forest green, while to the northeast, below those mountains, they're more of a holly color for the taiga. Then to the northwest is tropical jungle, so it's a more saturated green. Now time to color the rest of the continent, and I apologize for all the little marching ants as I select things. I do hide them eventually, but I realize it is annoying and jarring for the eyes. For coloring the land, I went off all the information that Ron told me. To the west are marshy floodlands, to the southeast are forested plains. In the land of Tharn, there are a lot of flat, grassy farmlands, and the Badlands to the west of Tharn are like the American Badlands, with lots of cool rock formations. Mountains are mountains, so they're earth-colored with some snowy peaks. Between the mountains and the glacier is a place called the Steppe, which Ron told me is like a frozen grassland. Then to the west, above the marshes, is more grassy flat land that will be the Vizani Federated Republic. Like I said, we haven't journeyed far, mostly staying to the east for now, so I don't know much about all of these places yet, but I am super excited to continue adventuring in this amazing world Ron has created for us. Now to finish the Jade Sea. I decided it didn't look good enough, so I messed around with some effects, tried to give it that sparkly gem look, then decided to use a picture I found on Google to help me out with texturing, and I think it looks just so much better. And finally, I just do some final adjustments to colors, effects, and then pop in the names, and it's all done. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed my map creation process and the story that comes along with it. Don't forget to give this video a like, leave a comment telling me your thoughts on it, and subscribe and hit the bell if you haven't already. As always, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.